Hello everyone and welcome to my first video that won't be focused on parodying Songs of War movie as usual. Today we'll look at the upcoming Songs of War spin-off series called Songs of War Great War. I'll talk about what might appear in it and what it could be about. This video is also an experiment to see if you would be interested in this kind of content besides the usual Songs of War parodies, because there are many things in Songs of War to talk about, and at this moment I have ideas for at least 4 videos I could make. For those of you who haven't seen Songs of War yet, I recommend watching this video after you've seen the movie, because there will be spoilers. Alright, that's all from me for the introduction, let's get started. My first assumption was that the spin-off would watch the events of the Great War, which now has been confirmed. This really pleased me because this is the best spin-off idea we could get, and it will be amazing to see the things that we only heard about in Songs of War. Things that were just shadows of the distant past slowly returning to reality. Now we'll get the chance to see how it all actually began and witness all the great battles and deeds that were only mentioned in Songs of War. For example, Battle of Voltaria or Battle at Mount Valgrind. As we know, it all started when the Nether invaded the overworld. Then came the Ardoni tournament, which Ingressus won. The Masters refused to give him the Prime Songs, so he allied with the Nether, and then began the Great War. Personally, I think the beginning of the series will take place even before the Nether invasion, during a time of peace in Ardonia. Yes, peace, not peace. I think the first episode will be just an introduction to get us familiar with the era in which it takes place, especially for new fans, so they know something about this world. I expect the Nether to attack already in the second episode or later, and then we'll watch the kingdoms struggle unsuccessfully against the Nether army until they finally turn the Ardoni to use the Prime Songs. Another scene that I'm almost certain we'll see is the Ardoni tournament, which could take up some screen time because it would be just really cool to see it. Maybe we'll even get some scenes with Ingressus and Achillean living together, and later Achillean convincing Ingressus to join the tournament. But that might be a little too speculative since we already saw that in flashback at the end of season 3. I would really appreciate Voltari's point of view, and maybe even some scenes with Ingressus before he joined the Nestoris clan, and perhaps we'll also see Thalius hunting the Voltaris. We'll probably get some scenes where Ingressus struggles internally about whether to kill the Ardoni Masters. As we know, he eventually decided yes, and it will be interesting to see how he obtains the Prime Songs and why he doesn't take the Aggression Song. We know why. Another thing I'd like to see would be shots taken directly from the Songs of War intro, because it would be a nice detail. We could say something like, hey, we saw this at the beginning in Songs of War, that's exactly the scene. As for the rest of the story, I don't have much else to say. We can definitely look forward to lots of battles, different relationships between characters, and their opinions about the Great War. I'll get to that in a moment. I also have my own prediction about how the series might end, and I think it would be pretty good. I expect it to end with Achillean and Ingressus fight on Mount Valgrind and then time traveling afterwards. I don't know if that's how it will end, but if it does, it would be super cool because it would immediately lead us into Songs of War. That's all from me about the story, so now I would like to talk about the characters I think will appear in the series. We can definitely look forward to characters we already know from Songs of War, especially young Thalius, Achillean and Ingressus. Besides the familiar characters, we can also expect new ones, including the Nether King Kronos and the Ender King Rendor, whom I personally look forward to the most. Of course, we'll also see Aegis Nestoris and other Ardoni Masters, but I don't expect to see Sen's parents in the series because look how young Sen is, so I don't think they lived during the events of the Great War. So, why am I most excited about Kronos and Rendor? Because in Songs of War the Ender Knights are already gone and only reemerge with the Second Great War, At first, they didn't even know they were Ender Knights. They were just ordinary people, unaware that they would one day be part of something greater. Some of them couldn't even fight at the beginning. Alright, Abigail.
Not bad, kid. But I don't have time for this.
On the other hand, he will get to see the Ender Knights back when they were still a powerful kingdom, strong and skilled warriors. And even though we know almost nothing about King Rendor, apart from the fact that he was the last Ender King, in the Songs of War intro he seemed like a brave warrior and a good king. I don't know why, since the lore doesn't give him much space, but I am really excited to see him, and he might even become my favorite character of this spin-off. The reason I am excited about Kronos is that I am curious about this character. On one hand, he was a tyrant who nearly destroyed Ardonia, but from some flashbacks, he seemed like a decent king in the Nether? Maybe? I am also curious about the reason for the Nether's invasion of the overworld, so I am very interested in the motivation. I'm also curious to see how eventually decides to withdraw and return to the Nether. It would be really interesting if there was some kind of peace negotiations with representatives from the kingdoms and some main characters. And maybe we will even get some scenes where Pythos kills Kronos and then takes over as tyrant in the Nether. I also see great potential in Thalios' character. After watching Songs of War multiple times, I must say his character could have been more developed, and here we have the chance. We might see him with young Gallius getting along at first, but later clashing over their views on the songs, with a moment where Thalios injures Gallius with his aggression song, deepening their conflict. Honestly, I am very curious about Thalios' relationships with others, because there's so much to explore with him. Besides what I just mentioned, he could also have more disagreements with Gallius about the Great War. Thalios preferred an offensive strategy, while Gallius preferred a defensive strategy, as we know from him building Ataraxia. Speaking of that, it would be fantastic to see how Gallius built Ataraxia, and maybe we'll even get an explanation of why the islands float. I am also curious about Thalios' relationship with Achillean. As we know, they fought together a few times, and from Achillean's words in Season 2, it seemed they knew each other well and were friends. So I assume Thalios will share many scenes with Achillean, and we'll probably see their different views on the Great War. I expect Thalios will say things like, "The Voltaris are evil and must all be destroyed," while Achillean, knowing the truth, will try to calm him down, though he won't tell him the whole truth, which makes sense. I also think we'll get a scene showing Thalios as the Ardoni champion hunting the Voltaris. In short, Thalios has many traits that can be explored and developed, and I hope Black Plasma Studios, yes, to me they're still Black Plasma Studios, and Mont 27P make use of that. And the last character worth mentioning is Herobrine. I would really like to learn more about him, because Achillean only said that he was his friend, but how the hell did they meet? From what Herobrine does, I assume he's from another dimension, but how did he even meet Achillean? I have a theory that Achillean might have summoned him like at the end of Season 2, but that's just speculation. Anyway, I doubt they won't include Herobrine, because as I said, he was with Achillean and was also mentioned in Songs of War intro. I think when he appears, he'll start out as a villain, because, well, he's Herobrine. Everyone knows who Herobrine is, the most famous Minecraft creepypasta. Every one of us was scared of him as a kid and tried to summon him. He is evil creepy guy, so it would make perfect sense if he were a villain at first, sneaking around at night in places of death. That's how he came across to me in the Songs of War intro, especially since even the people of Ardonia fear his name. So I think he'll be a villain at first, and only after some time with Achillean he will become a good character, and I don't think that transition will be easy for him. Whether that's true, we'll only find out when the series come out. That's all about the characters. Sure, I could say more about Aegis, but that would mostly be stuff we already know from Songs of War. I could also talk about other characters, but since I don't even know which characters will be in the series, it would just be sharing my own theories and guesses, and in this video I want to stick to something at least somewhat relevant. That being said, let's move on to the part where I'll talk about, well, not theories and guesses, but rather things I'd like to see in the series. The first of these is the origin and nature of the songs, because we don't know how they were created or who made them. We only know that the prime songs were found, and that's it. We don't know how they came into existence, how old they are, who created them, or for what purpose. We also don't know how ordinary songs are made, whether they are produced by prime songs or created with some kind of magic. Aside from that, I would like to see storylines that don't follow the Ardoni, because even though Songs of War included Felina, Bagnorais or humans, the movie focused primarily on the Ardoni, while the other races were mostly just side characters. If this spin-off explored the other races more, it would definitely feel more alive, and we would get to learn more about their culture and traditions. Personally, I'd love to see the Glacians, because they are one of the oldest races in Ardonia, and they barely appeared in Songs of War at all. And yet I see huge potential in them. I like to see how they fight because, let's be honest, even though they usually don't care much about Ardonia's affairs, this is a problem they just can't ignore. We'll probably see someone trying to convince them to join the fight. They'll refuse at first, but then they'll make some epic entrance in a battle and fight in the end. I also assume we'll see how they once lived peacefully with the Voltaris clan before the Great War. And I dare say they might have some special magical ability because they give off that impression. I think they'll probably be able to control ice, similar to the Ice Lodger, since they live in the north, look like they are made of ice, and are the oldest humanoid race in Ardonia, so they must know a lot that the other races only learned much later. It seems very likely they'll have ice manipulation powers. There is also something else in Songs of War that wasn't really used, not a race, but an Ardoni clan, the Kaltaris. In Songs of War we don't really have any main characters from the Kaltaris clan, except for Zulius, who dies at the beginning of Season 2, which I find disappointing because that makes the Kaltaris clan feel unimportant. So I hope this time we will get a main character from the Kaltaris clan. I thought it could be interesting if this Kaltaris Ardoni lived with the Voltaris, understood their true motives and helped them, until the other Ardoni found out and killed him. That would make for interesting storytelling and good drama, though I don't know if Black Plasma will choose to add that to this series. The last thing I would like to see is more locations than in Songs of War, because if you think about it, the movie took place mostly in the western part of Ardonia, while the eastern part was almost unused. New locations would also make the world feel more alive and help us discover more corners of Ardonia. The only thing I am worried about with this spin-off is the classic prequel problem, revealing too much important information from the main story. For example, take the sci-fi series Babylon 5 and its prequel movie Babylon 5 in the Beginning, which takes place 10 years before the show's events but reveals a major mystery that in the series is only raised in Season 1 and explained much later. Or take Star Wars. If you watch it in chronological order, starting with Episode 1, the prequel trilogy spoils the huge plot twist in Episodes 5 and 6, that Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia are actually Darth Vader's children. And that's exactly what I'm afraid of with this series, that it might reveal the big twist that shocked all of us at the end of Season 3. Okay, that's everything from my thoughts about the upcoming Songs of War spin-off. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, and I'd also appreciate to hear your own theories and predictions. Please also rate this video and let me know if you would like to see more videos like this one. Thank you for watching and sticking around until the end, and I'll see you next time, probably with another 30-second parody.